Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening for everybody in the Talent Tribe. For those of you superstars all across the world, my name is Frank Salas. I go by the name The Talented Mr. Salas, and I serve those with talent and transform them into thought leaders. And today, I'm bringing on a wonderful guest, Mr. Michael Thompson, also known as Mr. Digital Nomad, and he's going to talk to us about lifestyle design. Michael, introduce yourself to the fine folk.
Yeah, well, my name is Michael Thompson. I'm happy to be here. I'm an entrepreneur. I've been an entrepreneur for a long time, 10 years, 10 or so years, 10 plus years. And now in the last few years, I've really been embracing the digital nomad lifestyle, which all stemmed from, the concept of lifestyle design, which I like to sort of define as, creating a lifestyle, creating work that works for your lifestyle as opposed to shaping your lifestyle around your work. It's sort of completely opposite. And when I read the 4-Hour Work Week 5 years ago or so, it kind of set me on this direction of sort of thinking about things differently and taking a different path and not necessarily having the same goals and objectives as other people when they work. For me, it's not always about money first. It's about money as a tool to develop lifestyle. So yeah, I have a business. My main business is customessay.com. It's something that I've been doing for 10 years. I don't know, you want me to get into that now or?
Absolutely.
All right, cool. So I'm about 33 now. And then about 10 years ago, I got into this industry, which I didn't know existed, which was custom writing, essay writing, whatnot. So I'm from Toronto, and I started working for a little company there, and so I was working as a writer, freelance writer. Did that for about 2 years. Wasn't really high enough on the ladder to be getting good, full, reliable freelance work 12 months a year. So after about 2 years, I branched out and I started my own company, just mirroring exactly the same thing as my former employer. I just did the exact same thing. I started a website and I started selling my services. That was about 8 years ago. But at that time, I was doing it very much bricks and mortar. I had an office, but over, as I experimented with it for a few years, I figured out that what I was doing needed a process. It needed to be automated. So what I did was I built out a software behind my website that automated all of the little annoying functions that come along with just a process. So I hired a company in India to build that out on the cheap. After about a year of development, and I had it going, it was still very primitive, but it was solving all my problems and kind of took my business to the next level. So once I had that in place, I approached my previous employer who had the domain name Custom Essay. And I said, look, I'm doing this much better than you are. He was sort of an old guy. He didn't really understand the internet and how to leverage the internet for online business. So he had this bricks and mortar business, but he had this great domain name. And anyway, so that was 3 years ago. I bought him out. I found an investor, bought him out. So for the last 3 years, I've been sort of, when I acquired that business 3 years ago, I actually had 2 physical locations, 2 sales offices. I had 2 full-time salespeople, and I was running customers in and out of my offices all day long. It was extremely inefficient. So over the last few years, I've been really changing the way I operate to just be online. About a year ago, I got rid of my last office, so I was just operating online. About 8 months ago, I stopped taking phone calls from my customers. It's just a continuing process of 80-20, eliminating what causes most of my problems. And as I keep going forward, I keep realizing that these things that I thought couldn't be eliminated, such as taking phone calls from customers, actually should be eliminated. And, so it's sort of been a transition for me to get sales from wherever they come from. As opposed, now I'm more about okay, well, I only really want to serve certain customers, specifically the customers that only deal with me online. No phone calls, no walking in, no negotiating, just follow the rules. And that's kind of where I've been for the last year. So, I've been traveling a lot and really embracing the digital nomad lifestyle. Like right now, I'm actually kind of on vacation right now. I just found this cool co-working spot nearby. So I'm actually in Huntsville, Ontario, which is not where I live, but I found this cool spot and I'm interviewing you, but I'm at the lake right now. So I kind of just live off my laptop. And now I have another brand, which is lifestyledesigned.net, which is now it's sort of my passion. It's I have my business on one side, but now this is just kind of what you're doing, building my tribe, putting out content that I'm interested in, just kind of networking with people doing what I'm doing and kind of expanding my horizons. So that's where I'm at. I work as like a coach, a lifestyle design coach, helping people sort of shift their mindset so they can just sort of make small changes, and large changes, but little to large changes in the way they think so that they can achieve different results in what they're doing.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I want to focus in for all my superstars in the talent tribe and really, zoom in on what some key things that Mr. Digital Nomad Michael Thompson said at Lifestyle Designed with a D.net. He said that he chose to focus on the people that he wants to serve, which is really key. He didn't want to take phone calls. He doesn't want to deal with people in the office. He doesn't want to, have a rent to pay to some place to have like this, physical location, pay for electricity bills, so on and so forth. He only wants to live off of his laptop. And because he was honest with himself and he took a personal inventory of what makes him happy and how he would like to choose his life, because regardless of whatever you do, you're going to have to work, no matter what. Mark Cuban still works every day. Warren Buffett still works every day. Richard Branson still works every day. They just do what they love, and the marketplace has rewarded them. And you're getting your business to where you're doing exactly what you love, and now you're making the shift over to lifestyledesign.net. When somebody who is interested in becoming a digital nomad, or maybe not even a digital nomad, just to design their lifestyle, what's that first step? What's the first thing that you just look for? What are you looking for when you meet somebody?
Well, I would say if a person wants to make that shift, the first thing they do is have to really change the way they think, because that's the first step. Like, you're not going to accomplish something if you can't really visualize it in your head. You have to say, okay, I want to design my life, but what does that really entail? You actually have to sort of put it on paper, say, okay, what life do you want to live? Like for me, I just want to be free to sort of go where I want. Like I travel a lot. Like I don't necessarily spend a lot of money because but for me, that's not the priority. The priority isn't like, expensive planes and expensive hotels. The priority is freedom of time and space. So for me, like I visualize that. I'm like, okay, that's what I want. So I have to make changes to get there. Like for example, with my online company, 3 years ago when I had 2 full-time salespeople and 2 physical locations selling my services, I actually peaked. Like that was my highest year of sales. In the last few years, I went down to here, and only now am I kind of back up to that point. But the sales I'm doing now are so much better than they were 3 years ago because I have no offices, no salespeople, no overhead, like no BS, no headaches, no running around, no buying printer cartridges and desks and like cleaning and you know what I mean? So it's like I kind of was like, okay, what's important to me? For me, what's important is having control of my time, not money. Money is a tool, but that's not what I'm chasing. If I were chasing that, I could probably hit higher sales by just being crazy all the time. But for me, that's not the optimal way of doing it. So for me, anyway, to kind of get off track, but you got to visualize what you want, because only then can you kind of create a plan. Most people are like, what do I want? Well, I just want lots of money, because then if I have lots of money, then the rest will sort itself out. But that's not really right, because if you haven't figured out in your head what that means to design your life, then you're not really going to get there. You're just going to sort of be going in a circle. So that's the first step I would say is like, what do you want to do? How do you want to live?
That's great. That's great. I want to zoom in there for the superstars and the talent tribe. You have to really focus on what is important to you. It's like some people, it might be like, I need this Louis Vuitton, I need to be at the Grammys this year, I need to be at the World Series, the Super Bowl. Like they might want that. So, and that's cool. That's maybe what they want. It's not necessarily for Michael Thompson, Mr. Digital Nomad at lifestyledesign.net. It might not be for him, but if that's what you want, okay, cool. That's what you want. How do we get there? And the knowing is the first part. So there's so many ways to conduct business online, to make revenue, generate sales. And you said it best. You have no overhead right now. You don't have employee benefits, taxes to them, office space, the little, maids, the janitors, the internet bill over there. You're able to work anywhere in the world that you in what you want to do. So once somebody is more clear on what it is that they want from their life and their lifestyle, how does somebody build around that? I know that's a very vague question because everyone's very different, but what should people be looking at when they decide to once they know where they want to go, how do they start walking that path?
My opinion, the first thing is sort of education. And I mean, you have to learn before you can do it. I mean, I don't want to say that's as an absolute, like you should always try, but I mean, part of the process is education and, reading books. And now I'm all about the podcast. Like you can learn anything from a podcast, but you really need to get confident that you can accomplish what you want to accomplish. Because I know that when you're starting out, you're like, there's lots of doubt. Like I'm not smart enough. I can't do this. Like, and doubt can really get in the way. But if you start reading lots of books, like I recommend like 4 Hour Work Week and Robert Kiyosaki and books like that, where you also have to learn about money. I mean, when you're running a business, whether it's just starting out or it's all about cash flow, you know what I mean? It's not just the business you're running, but it's how you manage cash flow and how you understand what cash flow is and debt and, all the little tools that come along with running a business. So, the second step after you visualize what you want is you gotta get educated. The best place to do it is just in some books or podcasts, or, I mean, there's no shortage of ways on how to educate yourself, but you got to get confident that you can do it, because everyone can do it. But if you're not confident in yourself, and if you don't, know what you're doing per se, you're never going to know what you're doing 100% when you're starting out, but you should probably kind of get your mind. It's really all about a mindset shift. So when you start reading books of people who have done what you want to do, your mind's going to start to shift, and you're going to start thinking differently and doing differently. And then once you do that, then it comes to actually planning your actual business. I can get into that. I would say that there's no right business for anyone. Everyone's good at different things. But back to my second point of educating yourself, if you understand the difference between cash flow and, just making money, it really affect what you're trying to do in your business. Like for me, I am not trying to make a pile of money. I'm trying to develop a cash flow machine, really. So like when I have money lying around, I don't just try and build more of it. I actually take it and the software behind my website is really everything for me. So I keep investing in it, making it better, making it more user-friendly, and just, the more money I put back into my company, the more cash flow I'm going to yield. And just that's my objective, is cash flow. So if you can understand why you'd want to have cash flow as opposed to just money itself, it kind of can shape which direction you take.
I agree. Ian Sneed here in our live studio audience, who's joining us live for the recording of this podcast, says that cash flow is king, and I 100% agree. Michael Thompson also said something that I want to zoom in on for the superstars in the talent tribe. He says there's no shortage of knowledge, whether it's podcasts, whether it's books. Mike, one of my mentors told me that all the world's greatest secrets are hidden in books. That's where they all are. And you dropped some good ones right there. You dropped some phenomenal ones right there. You work with a lot of people with your lifestyle design coaching. What kind of value do you bring people? Like, what kind of people come to your door? How do you make their lives better? Like, give us some case studies, some examples of just the change that you make in people's lives.
Okay, I mean, what I try and focus on is mindset, and it's like, that might sound kind of cliche, but actually it really isn't, because, for me in my business, it's really been a mindset change for myself. Like, as I said, I would say a year ago, I would have said that it would be impossible to remove the on-phone customer service from my business. I was like, no, you can't remove that element of it. You have to serve your customers on the phone. I actually thought that a year ago. And then, as of October this year, I actually said to myself, no, that's just a myth that I have in my mind that is only just me inventing a problem in my head. It's like, I don't actually have to think that way. I'm just choosing to think that way. So as soon as I chose to think differently, I'm like, no, I can remove that option for my customers and force them to interact with me in a more scalable way. So I made that change and my business grew and my return on time also grew. So, for example, I have another coaching client I work with who runs a software as a service company, and it's sort of, he has the same problem. Like I was with him one day, and without getting into it too deeply, but I was with him and he took a call. He took a call for 20 minutes, and I let him do his call, and then after that I was like, who are you talking to? He's like, oh, just like a user, free. I'm like, what do you mean a user? Like, why are they calling you? He's like, well, it's a small company. I have to take these calls. I'm like, so he said it to me. He's like, I have to take these calls. I'm like, no, you don't have to take these calls. You have to change the way you think so that you don't have to do anything. Like, you don't have to do anything. So it's all about what are you going to do and what return, is that action going to bring? So the way I coach people is I kind of go through what they spend their time with. And I'm like, okay, why are you doing it that way? Do you have to do it that way? Is there a better way you can do it? And it's all about, once again, it's all about getting to that endpoint, which is the lifestyle. So different people have different objectives. Like one person might want to, everyone has different lifestyle objectives. So you do what is most effective to, achieve that lifestyle goal. And for everyone, it's different. And so my goal as a coach is to work with people to sort of uncover what is best for them.
Absolutely. So from everything that you had just said, it's really different from what I like. And what you said was everybody has different goals, and that's correct. In the Talent Tribe, where I use social media, specifically live stream, Periscope, Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook Live, Facebook groups, Busker, Pinterest. What I do is I give out a bunch of value to attract people, and then I want them to come to me, and I want them to join my private Facebook group, which is the home for my tribe, the Talent Tribe. And what I do is I actually pick up my phone and I send them a voice message or video and say, hey, thank you so much for joining the Talent Tribe. I really appreciate that. If there's anything you'd like to see me do, blah, blah, blah. And it takes time. Like you said, like you just took a 20-minute call with a free user. Most of the people that I do that with don't spend a dime with me, but they do pay some support. Can you hear me, Mike? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. They do send some support, and they're always sharing my feeds, and they help me grow. But that's because right now, my goal for this particular business is to build an audience, is to grow, is to have that engagement. And I thought it was so cool to just hear different perspectives saying, you know what? I don't want to take those phone calls. I don't want to deal with it. I want to force my people to do this, this, and that. So I just felt that was just a wonderful, just different mindset to look at things.
Well, it's different. I mean, I'm talking about, the nitty gritty of my business, and the client I was talking about is the same thing with him. He's talking with, don't waste time with people who are not going to give you the sort of return that you're looking for. Like, for example, right now, I'm sitting with you because I know that this is something that will bring me a return. I like to give value. I like to, my website, I blog, I put content out there. I like to put value out there in that sense because I know it's going to come back to me exponentially. But don't give away your time if it's not going to bring exponential return back to you. You know what I mean? Like, this is something that I know will build my own tribe. So I'm learning from it. So it's great for me. It's like I get a great return on this interview, and I feel like you're doing the same thing. But it's about like, what are you doing, and is it giving you a return on your investment of time or money or whatever to be able to be worthwhile and to be aligned with your lifestyle goals.
That's great, man. That's great. I love that. I love that. And I love how you were able to give us a distinction on both, because in social media in particular, and that's my realm. In social media, it's all about connecting. It's all about those relationships. And you said it perfectly. What is going to build whatever your goal is. And for us right now, this is us building our tribe, building our audience. This is us getting out there. I'm sharing my audience with you. You're sharing your value with the audience. And the cool part about that is like people hear me say, design your lifestyle, be a digital nomad. And they probably, they're numb by it. I've cried wolf too many times. But somebody like you who's in a different country, who's got a different experience, different perspective, you help me serve my tribe by giving them that unique perspective of becoming a digital nomad. And on that note, can you tell us a little bit about like the perks of being a digital nomad? Like what's some cool stuff you've experienced as a digi nomad?
So I travel a lot. Like, as I said, I turned off the phone in my business. Like last summer, I went to Argentina for 2 months to learn Spanish. And when I say learn it, I'm like very beginner still, but I had a great time in Buenos Aires. I went there for 2 months, and I kind of had a phone support person in place while I was there. And then I came back, and that person wasn't working out. So last summer, I was doing the phone support myself. But as of October, I just said, you know what? No more of this phone support. I'm going to be like a complete digital nomad in the sense that I'm only going to be accountable to my laptop screen, regardless of where I am. So I did that, and then I went I went to Europe for a month, just like backpacking around city to city. In the winter, I went to Costa Rica. I went to Colombia. I just got back 2 weeks ago from a month in Asia. I was in Vietnam and Bali.
Nice.
And right now I'm in Canada right now, but I'm actually not at my house. I'm like a few hours north of my city, just hanging out in a lake house. So basically 100% the best perk is that I have control of my time and my location. And it's like, it might sound like I'm very luxurious, but it's really not. Like it's not like I'm spending money everywhere I go. It's like being a digital nomad is not about having lots of money. Obviously, like try and make money, but like it's not about having lots of money. It's like once you have control of your time and once you start making a little bit of passive income online, you really start to benefit from not having to be any one place at any given time. And it's like I feel like I live a luxury lifestyle, but really it doesn't cost me that much because I don't have the reason is because when I'm every day I'm like doing whatever I want and wherever I want, but my income is not interrupted. So if you have a situation where you can travel without interrupting your income, that's what I've been going for. That's freedom, really. So I'm always trying to make more money, but it's like regardless of how much money I make every day, it's like I have my time. So pretty good.
That's awesome. We have some comments coming in from our live studio audience. This is from Tracy Cooper at Resume Workshop, and she says, it must be nice. And I know you help people get to the must be nice lifestyle. When somebody says something like that, it must be nice to have that. What is your response when people, because I get that a lot. Oh, it must be nice to have 7 companies. It must be nice to go out to the Philippines for 3 months. It must be nice to, do this and that. Like, what is your response when you're trying to serve somebody and help them when they say things like that?
I mean, I think when someone says must be nice, you gotta kind of look at the words they're using. And I mean, I don't really know. I mean, it is what it is. You make choices. And for me, it's like, I'm trying to use my words in a way that's very positive. Like I started my company 10 years ago, 8 years ago, but I've been in my industry for 10 years. And it's like I started my education of like changing the way I think, like, over 10 years ago. So I would never say myself must be nice. Like, like I have a competitor right now who he's like I think he's my main competitor in my field. And he is so smart. He has built up this Instagram audience, just like posting stupid jokes every day, like memes, but he has like 320,000 people following him. And it's like, I'm so jealous of this guy that he has this following that has nothing to do with our industry. He's making so many customers because he just posts jokes every day, and he has 300,000 followers. I'm like, but I would never say to him, must be nice, because I'm like, I know that you didn't start from nothing. You didn't just get there. You put in years of work. So, I mean, I put in, where I'm at now is like 8 years, 10 years from where I started. And it's like 5 years from when I decided that I'm going to like take the turn to be digital nomad. So it's like, yeah, no, it is nice. I give you that, but it's like, I could also say it must be nice to someone else. Like there's lots of people who I'm so-called jealous of because they've done something that they've reached a point where I want to be. And I could say must be nice to them, but I wouldn't say that to them because I'm like, I respect what you've done and I'm going to learn from what you've done. And I'm going to work my butt off to like emulate you as I want and learn, you know what I mean? So it's like, that's what I would say. I was like, yeah, it's nice, but anyone can do it. You just have to sort of commit yourself to it.
Absolutely, and that's what I wanted to break down. Anybody can do it. Anybody can do it. You just have to put the work in. You have to get the knowledge. For me, I've been a digital nomad. I would say for the last 10 months. This is a new thing for me. But because I've leveraged stuff like live stream, mainly Periscope, Facebook Live, and I've built a tribe by broadcasting on live stream every day, just like your buddy, or your competitor who has the jokes and all the followers and stuff. I don't have 1 million followers. In fact, I have less than 20,000 collective followers. However, I have, and from those 20,000, I have less than 1,000 that are really hyper targeted, about 800 or so, that are super focused in what it is that I have to offer and the value that I have to bring out to the marketplace. And because I've been on this guy doing live streams every single day, really putting the work in, I've got that connection with them. And when they join my tribe, I send them a message, I send them a video, I reach out to them. I know about their business, like Isaac Avilés out in San Diego. He's in the real estate business and he's always constantly supporting. Really appreciate that. Because I have stuff like that and I have relationships that I've built that I'm able to leverage, it really helps me put myself in the proper way to put out there. And I felt like using social media has helped my business, just like it has helped your competitor to really put out there. And where I'm at right now is I'm actually working with one of our studio audience members right now, Jennifer Bailey out in the UK, who I met through Twitter. And we did a blab a few weeks ago, actually last week, about course creation. So now I have my first flagship course, which is called the Talent School, and that breaks down how to get into the online business. And so it's talking about lifestyle design. This is only like in the last 60 days for me. Because I was on Periscope and all this social media, people were reaching out to me and they're like, I want to learn how to do this. And I was constantly going through that process of holding people's hands of how to find their value, how to find their follower, how to do all this, like the same thing most coaches do. And I realized, you know what, like that was cool up front, and yeah, I like doing it, but I don't like doing it every day. So what I did is I put it all onto paper, if you will, or put it onto a digital course, and I created that. And now I have that, and I have a process like you have a process with your customers. I reach out to people still. And 90% of the stuff that I do is complimentary, and I give value, much like we're doing on this podcast, to serve the tribe or my tribe. So when I do that, that brings people in, and the complimentary trainings that I do and all the value that I give, it compels them to be like, you know what? I just want to get this part of my life handled. And when they're ready at that point, when they've received enough value and I've served them enough, then I ask them for their business and I say, hey, if you want to work with me, this is the next step. And for me, the next step is to go to my flagship course, which is the Talent School, which shows people how to use social media across all platforms. Everything that I mentioned earlier, Facebook, Snapchat, Instagram, Pinterest, Busker, Periscope, Blab, LinkedIn, every single one of them. I do all of that. And it's like a really in-depth course that I just had to do one time. I just had to do it one time. And now I have a recurring, revenue from that. So when I wake up, my PayPal is like, yo, somebody just bought this. And everything that I do, because I'm on live stream, is at a high end. So I charge premium prices. People are selling courses for, $50, $97, $100. My stuff's not in that price range. And if you want that stuff, I wouldn't even charge for it. I just give it away for free and say, there's some golden nuggets. There's a gold mine. If you want to step into my diamond vault, let's chat. If you want to handle this, let's roll. And to your point about lifestyle design, I knew that I didn't want to do that part of my life because it was like, man, there's a lot of hand holding. I got other stuff to do. I can't afford this time-wise. I can't do this and grow my business. So I had to do something about that. So tell us a little bit about on your lifestyle design. What are some, because there's millions of monetization strategies to earn revenue through online and even offline, but what are some of the things that you really like or that you're fond of in your programs?
Okay, so I mean, my business is really simple. So I'm going to talk about like my main business, not my personal brand, but my main business, which is customessay.com.
Yeah.
And what it is just like a writing company. So I have a team of writers. People come to my site, they make orders, and my team of writers fulfills it. So it's really been a process for me of how to monetize this. You know, you have a business in theory, but how do you actually monetize it? So I built a platform behind my, which automates all the functions. I got a great domain name, which was kind of which was lucky for me. I was able to get it. But now what I use is I have my website in place. I have my backend system in place. I have my automation. But now I'm using Infusionsoft. Right now, Infusionsoft is sort of my project. It's like, I don't know if I like it or not because it drives me crazy, but I definitely love it because it's so, I don't know if you're familiar, but it's like, what it is it's back end, it's automated sales. So it's like, it's email marketing. So now I have so many different campaigns. So depending on how a user interacts with me on my website, I know whether or not they're a new customer, whether or not they're like an old customer, how they come to me, whether they come to me from Facebook ads, or they come to me organically or Google. Like I know all of this stuff, and I can use this information to target them in a very efficient and like directed way. So what I'm excited about right now is Infusionsoft, which is like the back end brain of my marketing and email automation. If you're selling anything online, I know Infusionsoft has a few competitors, but if you're selling anything online, and you have a list of any sort, or you're just, you have a list of customers, or you're building a list, a software like Infusionsoft is really going to take you to the next level, and it's really taking me to the next level. And I feel like I haven't even scratched the surface yet. It's like a very easy to use, but it's also very complicated. Like every time I use it, I like learn something new about it. I'm like, whoa, I can do this. So cool. And I'm excited about Infusionsoft with my current business, but also with like social media advertising, like Facebook, for example. So what I'll do is I'll put like I have a free ebook for my business. I'll put that on Facebook, give it away for free, try and get you to sign up for it. So I'm trying to get your email so I can get you into my ecosystem, and then I can market to you in a very effective way. So it's like simple. It's like I don't have a very complicated business model, but I just use a few, I have a very simple model, and I effectively use like the tools we have available on the internet to hit a niche market as hard as I can. Like my market is very niche, but I'm very good at my market and I hit it hard. So I don't know if that answered your question, but.
Absolutely. And then you brought up another point that I want to delve into as well. So I have an outsourcing company in the Philippines. That's why I go there for so long. And what I do is I have a team of virtual assistants that set everything up. I'm sure you've dealt with my VA for, as we got this whole process done. And, back to your point of lifestyle design, I don't handle email. Email is not a part of my day. I'd rather spend my time doing podcasts, creating content, dropping, content on all of my live stream platforms and whatnot. So that's what I designed my life, because I knew and I've been doing that for a very long time, almost 8 years now with, I completely removed email for me for 3 years now. And it started 8 years ago. Like you said, it takes a process for me for people to get that down. Now, but because of that, I have a system. And for me, I'm really adamant of having SOPs, standard operating procedures, that I give my virtual assistants that, here's how we book a podcast with Mr. Digital Nomad at lifestyledesigned.net. We have that system in place. And, you sound like you have a lot of systems and automation in place for you. Can you talk to us about, I know you touched on it a little bit, but can you go deeper on how to establish systems to really allow for this type of freedom and lifestyle?
Yeah, that's kind of, that's really everything, is building systems, because systems run without you, right? If you have a business that requires you to be part of it, it requires you to be on the phone all day or to be in an office all day or whatever, to sort of be part of that process, then it's not really a system. You got to build out a system. I know I'm kind of I'm not really explaining it, but for me, my business, it's been a process over the last 10 years of figuring it out, what the process is. Like when I left my first employer and started my own business, basically I just rented an office, had a laptop, starting putting free ads online. but I had no system. I didn't know what I was doing. My first goal was to get customers in. So I got the first customer in the door. They paid me money. I fulfilled the order, but I still didn't have a system in place. And it wasn't until I went from like 1 to 100 customers that I realized, okay, like what are the challenges that come up when you have 100 customers to deal with? And you're like, okay, then you start to realize, you're like, okay, well, this happens, that, these little obstacles get in the way. You're like, okay, how can I get over that obstacle? How can I scale it? And it's like, okay, so what you're doing is you're building a system. Now it's like, okay, what about 100 to 1,000 customers? Same thing. It's like, it's a different challenge. When you grow, you get different challenges. Like for me, I had a website to begin with. I had a website with no backend system. So people were emailing me and everything was just like manual emails back. But then I built my first system in India. I just say India, meaning I outsourced it overseas for cheap.
Right.
And that was, my version 1.0, and I solved a lot of problems, but then I grew again. I went from 100, so to say, I don't know how many, but so to say from here to here. Then I had all these new problems that I had to once again, adapt to and build a new and improved system, so now I'm running my sort of 2.0 backend system, and I keep making change every month. I improve it. So what I'm doing is I'm improving the system. I'm making all these little annoying like functions of my business, whether it's like, for example, when a customer first becomes my customer, they get an email with their username and password to my site. But then, when they place an order and it's complete, they get another email saying your order is complete. But sometimes they forget that they got their password at the beginning of the process, and they don't know how to actually access their order because they don't know what their password is. So, you make it a small, you're like, okay, well, this is actually a big problem because I have all these customers emailing me saying like, I can't access my orders. I can't. And that's actually, so that is something that arose, like this big problem, because it actually forces me to like solve it with, manually. So what I do is I go back into my system, I change the email, and I just make a little tweak, and all of a sudden I've just eliminated that problem. So, but with every problem you eliminate through creating a system and improving your system, well, the better it operates on its own. As you were saying, you wake up every morning with PayPal notifications. Well, so do I. It's like, because I have a system behind me. Like I have a website that you can go to, you can spend money on without any kind of, manual work on my part or on my team's part. So it's like, yeah, the better you build your system, the more money you're going to make, and the more orders, the easier it is for people to come and be your customer. So I don't know if that answered your question, but
absolutely, and I want to even maybe contribute to that as well. Because of your systems that you have in place, you removed yourself as a bottleneck. So to all my superstars in the talent tribe, Michael Thompson has removed himself as a bottleneck of his business. And the talent tribe has a mix of entrepreneurs, but there's a good portion of them that are emerging entrepreneurs that are doing everything themselves. And when they get a work order in, they eat off of their sweat. They have to put the work in, otherwise the work doesn't get done. And they need to set up systems. They need to make their systems smooth. And then, like you had said up systems, but there was an error. It wasn't perfect. And all you did was, like a mechanic, just go in there with a wrench, tweak some things, and boom, it was smoothed out. And that's the process. You have to do a lot of trial and error. There is no 100% formula, because every single business is completely different. And you might find out different things, like, somebody might like taking phone calls, but then after the 2,000 phone call that same month, they're like, you know what? I should probably not handle these. And then they could remove that, and they could outsource them to the Philippines, or they could outsource them, to Guatemala, or they could just not deal with phone calls and have emails that go through an automated system that have a tracking order through like Spiceworks or Freshdesk or something like that, whichever platform you'd like. So I really wanted to contribute on there. We did get a question, and this was from Mr. Ike Aviles. He is out in San Diego in the real estate industry. He says, are there any specific daily routines that makes the day more efficient when becoming a digital nomad?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I'm the best person to ask, because I take a lot of my own time. Like for me, my routine is to like open my computer, because I mean, it might sound silly, but for example, I like spent 4 weeks in Asia, like 2 weeks ago. I was in Asia for 4 weeks, and while I was away, I kind of I made arrangements to have everything taken care of, just the little things, you know. But Asia is 12 hours removed time zone for me, so it's like literally the exact other side of the world.
Yeah.
Because I was always like on the other side of the world and like in the middle of the night, I didn't always have the like I didn't have a reason to open my computer, you know. And it's like it's really easy to go through the day and never open your computer. But it's like if I can just open my computer and put in half an hour of work, then it's like that's a habit that to kind of just every day do a little bit. It's easy to be like, I have so much to do, I'm just gonna like put it off. But just like, for example, today, I came to my co-working space an hour early. Just I didn't have anything pressing to do, nothing that needed to be done, but I was like, I'm just gonna put in like 45 minutes of work into my Infusionsoft, which just means like on the back end, like writing emails, like I have to basically have an email in place for 100 different scenarios. So it's just like, it just takes a lot of like work. And that's all about building my system too. Like I don't like writing 100 emails, but I only have to do it once.
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as I do it once, it's like my money machine has just been improved. You know what I mean? It's like,
I love that.
It's like I put in an hour of work today and, you know, whatever, an hour of work tomorrow. And it's like, I don't work all day long, but it's like, I try and get one thing done every day, even if it's just one email. So it's, you know, just every day do something that will put one foot in front of where it was before.
That's awesome. I would like for you to maybe demonstrate some value with me, and pretend like I follow somebody that was going to go through your lifestyledesign.net academy and really work with that. So I currently have 7 companies, and I'm a little bit crazy. Like, you don't want to work all day. I love working all day. I love new projects. I love, you know, spinning my wheels. I got a lot of energy, you know, and I've got to be able to expand that and expend that. And I have, you know, ADD in business. I want to make sure, you know, that I'm always starting a new company. I'm 28 years old. I've had 14 companies. I currently own 7 right now. I just launched a fashion line last month, 4 weeks ago, and it's, you know, been driving me crazy, and I love it. But that's my passion. And if I were to come to you as one of your clients and I say, you know what, Michael, I would like to make more money. I'd like to have more companies. I'd like to travel more, and I'd like to work about the same, or maybe work a little bit less. I don't know. You know, what would you say to somebody like me to help me where I'm at right now, maybe go to that next level? Or what would you even, what kind of questions would you ask me to make sure, Frank, is that something that you want to do? Do you really want to work every day? Would you want to have more time off? Like, that's what I'm saying right now. But, you know, I've never had 20 companies at a time. That sounds great right now, but I might not know what that's like. So what would you really counsel or advise me with?
When I work with clients, I try and sort of keep it simple and focus on like what, why, and how. So the first thing that I try and get to is like what is it that you want? So lifestyle design is about designing your life. So tell me, what is your lifestyle objective? Like, what do you want out of life? Like, do you want to live in a big city? Do you want to live on the beach? Do you want to make $1 million? Or like, you know, the next thing you said was, I want to make lots of money. I want to travel lots. And I forget what else you said, but I would slow that down, break it apart and be like, okay, you want to make lots of money. Like, why do you want to make lots of money? Do you want to make lots of money because you want the freedom that it brings with it? Or you want lots of money because you want to buy expensive stuff? Like, so I would kind of break it apart, say, well, why do you want what you want? Because once you know, you really have to have a why behind something. If you don't have a why, it means that you're not committed to it, and you're probably not going to achieve it. Because nothing is easy, right? You know, especially with business. If you're not committed to it, you're not going to achieve it. So what is it that you want it? Why do you want it? And it's like, okay, well, at that point, now that we have those first 2 figured out, then we can sort of say, okay, how? So maybe with you, for example, you might tell me, okay, I want to live this way. And I'll say, you know, I want to live this way because I have a family and I want to, you know, whatever. And I say, okay, well, let's talk about the how. It's like, what is getting in the way of you doing that? Maybe one of the things getting in the way is the fact that you have 7 companies. I don't know, but it's hard to sort of, give a quick prescription, but that's sort of how I approach it is what, why, how, like, what do you want to do? Okay, let's create a blueprint for getting there. That's how I do it.
I love that. That was great. I feel like those questions are very important for everybody to ask themselves whenever they're going down a new path, a new venture. So
people are like, I just want to make lots of money. And it's like, well, that in itself is not really an outcome that we can plan for. You really have to have a deeper, what do you want? Because you know what I mean? That even that one thing is just very critical. Like, not money. Well, what do you actually want?
Yeah.
Well, I want some money. Well, no, you don't actually want money. You just want what money buys. So tell me, what is it that you want that money buys, and then we'll figure it out.
I love that. That's amazing. Yeah, and so to answer your question, for me, it's about starting new businesses. I want more money so I can start more businesses. If I get a check for that's substantial, I'll put 99% of it in a real estate deal, and I live off 1% of it until I need to dip into anything that I need to. So that's just me personally. I love starting new companies. I love new opportunities. I love, obviously to travel and go down that route. So I really feel like those are great questions for every single person who's listening to this to ask themselves. It's not how much money do you want to make. It's what do you want to buy with that money, and why is that important to you? I feel like that's phenomenal. We had a question from the live studio audience here, and that question is, how did you get together your team of writers?
Yeah, so when I started, I was the #1 writer. So basically, when I started 8 years ago, I would, when orders came in, I would sort of look at them myself. If I wanted to do it myself, I would do it, and I was doing a lot. So, obviously, often I would just sort of cherry pick it. And then I needed to build a team behind me that would do stuff that I didn't want to do. Now, this was a slow process, meaning that the answer was I put ads on Craigslist, and I got lots of applications, and I could kind of, see who would work out. And then I would just give people a chance. And now, 8 years later, I have kind of found lots of good people along the way. I found lots of people who didn't work out, and that's fine. They moved on. But I found lots of people along the way who have worked out well and have kind of just stuck with me. So it hasn't been a quick process. At first, I just got all my writers through Craigslist, but now I have a good core, and I have my business has enough traffic that I got qualified people sending me their resumes and whatnot. But realistically, I get a lot more applications from people who say they want to be writers, but who actually don't want to be writers. Like they think they do, but when it comes down to it, like they don't actually want to sit in front of a computer for 6 hours a day and write for money. Like they get kind of bored and they move on. So it's been a process over the many years of just finding good people and finding good fits between both of us, and just growing it. My business hasn't grown so quickly yet that I have to go from 10 to 100 overnight. That would be a challenge, and it's kind of a challenge I kind of want to get, but my growth has been slow enough that it hasn't been too overwhelming to sort of add new people. And I pay my writers well, and I treat them well, and I'm fair. So it's like they respect me, I respect them, so they stick around.
I want to zoom in on this for a common recurring theme that I see for all my superstars in the talent tribe. Whenever I meet people and I get them to start outsourcing, the first level of resistance that I get, it's always the same. They're like, but nobody can do it like I do. For example, for me personally, I've got several different companies. One of the last things that I started outsourcing that changed my life was cold calling. I love cold calling. You didn't want to be on the phone. Oh my God. When I get on the phone and I pick this guy up and I get someone to allow me to go to their house and do a listing appointment for my real estate business, dude, I get up and I take a lap. I just run around, I'm insane. I'm like, woo, I'm hyped. I love that feeling. It's like a drug for me. And I was like, I had the thought that was like, well, maybe I should outsource this because it takes a lot of time, and I'd probably get more leads anyways, and I'd get more appointments, and I'd be able to do more things. I'd be able to work on more businesses. But the other part of me me was like, but nobody can cold call like me. Nobody can handle objections like me. Nobody has done this. And I've been doing this for this many years, and there's no way that I would be able to, give this responsibility to somebody else. And I'm sure, like you said, initially you were the first writer, but at a certain point, you realized that you had to remove yourself as the bottleneck from your business and scale it. Can you talk to us about that?
Yeah, I mean, that's what you're talking about is just a mindset shift. Like it's a problem in your mind that you're creating in your mind. You're telling yourself the story that you can't have someone else do it for you. And that was a problem for me because I did think I was the best writer. Now since I have a few other people on board who I would say are actually better than me, but it's still, when you're running a business and you're on a very tight cash flow, meaning like the money you bring in today has to go out again today. Like it's like you want to have so much control over what you're doing. But I think for me, like the turning point was about 5 years ago when I read the 4-Hour Workweek, and that was sort of an experience that really helped shift my mindset to be like, look, you need to only do things that are like gonna get you the outcomes you want. And I'm like, I could spend 8 hours a day like writing because I think I'm the best, but it's like that's not what I want to be. I don't want to be a writer. I want to be an entrepreneur. And it's like eventually I just figured out that like I have to get over it. And at that point, I had been doing it for many years. So I was also kind of like looking forward to getting out of it and like having a different role. But to sum up, I just think it's a mindset thing. Like you really just have to like think differently. And that's one of the things I coach people with is like, I just ask them questions. I'm like, is this really going to yield the results that you want? And it's hard to answer yes sometimes, even though it sounds like the right answer.
That's great. That's great. This is the final question from me, and I'm going to open up the floor for any questions in our live studio audience. And if you guys are watching this on replay, on YouTube, on Lab, on iTunes, on Podcast Republic, Stitcher, make sure you guys join us live for these recordings so you can get your questions asked. My question is, can you truly design any lifestyle with the right amount of work, with all that stuff? Like if somebody really wanted to do this, and that, whatever that may be, is anything possible with designing your lifestyle?
Oh, I mean, I guess the right answer is yes, but it's not easy. There's challenges. I have challenges every day. Like there's lots of things that I struggle with, and there's like things I want to accomplish. I'm like, oh, I have these but it's there's goals that how do I say this? It's just, I think everything is possible, but it's not going to happen overnight. So it's like, nothing will happen on its own. You really have to commit yourself to it and set a goal. And I mean, I want to say everything's possible. Of course, anything is possible, but you really got to work for it and plan for it and make it happen. So the answer is yes. You just got to reach for the stars, but work hard for it and it'll happen. I don't know.
I agree. For me, the answer to that question is hell yes.
Hell yeah.
The answer to that question. And maybe that's the American in me, just always, trying to push the envelope and being out there. But I feel it because I spend 40% of the year not in the United States. When I'm overseas, wherever I am in the world, I'm still making money here in Austin, Texas with my real estate business. Right now, I'm able to focus on my social media career and still get paid on my real estate practice because I have systems in place. Now, I've been in the business for a few years and I've worked myself up there. I have an outsourcing company in the Philippines and, I had to work to get that. But I think it's totally possible, and I feel like there's never, ever been an opportunity for people to start designing their lifestyle and create whatever it is that they want right now from that. So
that's true. We are the best time in history to design your life. There's been no other time where we have the resources at our fingertips to do what we're doing now, for sure.
Definitely. We're going to wrap up, man. Is there what's the one final thing where somebody who's listening to this podcast that you can give them an actionable step to start designing their lifestyle? What's that one golden nugget that's actionable that they can take right now and start this journey of becoming a location independent digital nomad?
I would say try and sell one thing, whether it's just try and get that first dollar of income, because it's a very transformative experience. It's like it's almost like theoretical until you do it. Don't worry about trying to make $1 million. Try and make like $1 or $10 or $100 online, because as soon as you sort of see and feel the power and potential of making money on the internet, just like on your laptop, it's really powerful. So try and just take one step and just try and make like $1 or $10 or focus. Don't focus on the money. Focus on the process, and just start. Try and make that first sale online and go from there.
That's great. That reminds me of something that one of my mentors, her name is Amber Aziza. She's everywhere on social media at Amber_Aziza, Aziza. She runs a club called the Midnight Millennials. And she taught me, if you can make $1, you can make $1 million. And that stuck with me. That stuck with me big time. Michael Thompson, Mr. Digital Nomad, thank you so much for helping me serve the Talent Tribe. I can already see in the comments that you've helped me shift some of the mindset of the people. And this is, on Tuesday at 3 o'clock. We have about maybe 24 people here live. A few hundred are going to watch this, on the replay in the weeks to come and on the podcast. You're really going to help us shift some mindsets. And this was great stuff. I just want to say thank you so much for helping me serve the Talent Tribe. How can we find you, Michael Thompson?
Yeah, first of all, thanks for having me. This was actually a lot of fun. Good conversation. I'm glad I could help. I would say to anyone who wants to reach out to me, do it on my website at lifestyledesigned.net. That's designed with an ed.net. Check me out on Instagram at lifestyledesigned. And yeah, feel free to message me, whatever. Let me know your feedback. I'd love to hear from anyone.
Definitely. And on Instagram, is that with an ed at the end?
Ed, lifestyle designed with an ed. Yeah.
Perfect. And that's actually where we had connected through Instagram initially. I really appreciate you, responding to me. My name is Frank Salas. I go by the name of Talented Mr. Salas. This has been another one of our podcasts where I serve you guys to help you shift your mindset wherever you are. I don't care if you're making $1 million. I want you to make 10 million. If you're making $10 million, I want you to make 100 million. If you're making 100 million, I want you to make $1 billion. You're making $1 billion.
10x.
I want you to make it up there, man. It's up, up, up. All right, guys. And this is the kind of stuff that will get you there. So again, thanks a lot, Michael. Really appreciate that. And for everybody who is not yet in the Talent Tribe, it's a private Facebook group. You can just go to Facebook and type in Talent Tribe, or you can go to bit.ly/talented one to join my inner circle, where I'm serving you guys with interviews just like this, exclusive trainings, my golden nuggets, and I'm showing you my diamonds, my diamond case out there. So again, Mike, thanks a lot for taking the time out and really helping me serve the Talent Tribe. Have a great day.
Thank you, Frank.